You're at a party. Music is playing. Everyone around you is nodding their heads, tapping their feet, some people dancing, others singing along. The energy in the room pulses with the beat. People are smiling, connecting, losing themselves in the rhythm. And you feel nothing. Not annoyance, not hatred, just nothing. The music is there like wallpaper, like background noise, but it doesn't move you, doesn't make you want to dance, doesn't trigger emotion, doesn't create that thing everyone else seems to experience, that visceral, almost physical response to melody and rhythm. You've learned to fake it, to nod along, to say great song when someone asks. Because admitting the truth, that music does absolutely nothing for you, makes people look at you like you're broken, like you're missing something fundamental to the human experience. How can you not like music, they ask, genuinely confused. Music is universal. It's part of being human. But for you, it's not. And you've spent years wondering what's wrong with you, why your brain doesn't respond the way everyone else's does, why something that brings others so much joy leaves you completely unmoved. This isn't about having different taste in music. This is about having no emotional response to music at all. And there's a name for it. A neurological explanation. And tonight, I'm going to show you exactly what's happening in your brain, why you're wired this way, and why there's absolutely nothing wrong with you. Before we dive deep into applied psychology, subscribe to the channel. Tell me in the comments where you're from. Marcus Chen was 27 years old when he finally Googled, "Why don't I like music?" and discovered he wasn't alone. The search results introduced him to a term he'd never heard before. Musical anhedonia. Anhedonia means the inability to experience pleasure from activities that normally produce pleasure. Musical anhedonia is the specific inability to derive emotional reward from music. It's not deafness. People with this condition hear music perfectly. It's not a mood disorder. They can experience joy from other sources. Their brains simply don't process music as emotionally rewarding. Dr. Robert Zatorre, neuroscientist at McGill University, has spent decades studying how the brain processes music. In 2016, his team published groundbreaking research on musical anhedonia that finally gave scientific legitimacy to what people like Marcus had experienced their entire lives. The study used fMRI brain scans to examine what happens neurologically when people listen to music they find pleasurable. In typical brains, music activates the nucleus accumbens, the reward center, the same region that lights up when you eat chocolate, fall in love, or win money. Music creates a dopamine response, a literal chemical reward that makes the experience pleasurable. But in people with musical anhedonia, something different happens. Their auditory cortex processes the music perfectly. They hear every note, every rhythm, every harmony. But the connection between the auditory processing region and the reward center doesn't activate. The bridge is broken. Music enters the brain but never triggers the emotional payoff. Marcus described it perfectly. It's like watching people get excited about something I can intellectually understand exists but can't actually feel. Like being colorblind and having people describe the beauty of a sunset. I know it's there. I just can't experience it. The research suggests that approximately 3 to 5% of the population has some degree of musical anhedonia. That's millions of people worldwide who've spent their lives feeling abnormal, broken, or socially isolated because they don't respond to something culture treats as universally meaningful. What's fascinating is that musical anhedonia is specific. Marcus could experience pleasure from other sources perfectly normally. He loved food, had a healthy relationship, enjoyed movies and visual art, felt excitement about his career achievements. His reward system worked fine. It just didn't connect to music. Dr. Psyche Louie, director of the Music Imaging and Neural Dynamics Lab at Northeastern University, found that the condition relates to differences in white matter connectivity, the neural pathways that link different brain regions. In people with musical anhedonia, the pathway between auditory cortex and nucleus accumbens shows reduced structural connectivity. It's not damage, it's not dysfunction. It's variation. The same way some people are naturally better at math or languages, some people's brains are simply wired without strong music reward pathways. This explained so much of Marcus's life experience, why he'd quit piano lessons after 2 years, despite his parents' insistence, not because he was lazy, but because practicing brought him no intrinsic joy. Why he always felt like an outsider at concerts, surrounded by people having transcendent experiences while he just heard organized sounds. Why he preferred podcasts to music during workouts, confusing every gym buddy who couldn't imagine exercising without a pumping playlist. But here's where it gets interesting. Musical anhedonia doesn't mean you can't appreciate music intellectually. Marcus could recognize that a song was well composed, that a musician was technically skilled, that lyrics were clever or meaningful. He understood music the way you might understand poetry in a language you don't speak. You can analyze the structure, appreciate the craft, but not feel the emotional impact. Some people with the condition even work in music-adjacent fields. There are sound engineers, music producers, and composers who experience musical anhedonia. They approach music as intellectual puzzle, technical challenge, mathematical pattern, not emotional experience. Society treats music as fundamental to human experience. We use it for bonding, celebration, mourning, worship, protest. The assumption that everyone connects emotionally to music is so deeply embedded that people without that connection often feel pressured to pretend. Marcus spent years faking it, nodding when friends shared songs, claiming to like artists he felt nothing about, going to concerts and mimicking the behavior of people around him, pretending to be moved by performances that left him emotionally flat. The psychological toll of this pretense was significant. He felt isolated, like he was missing out on something fundamental. Relationships suffered because partners wanted to share music, wanted him to connect to songs that meant something to them, and he couldn't genuinely reciprocate that emotional sharing. When he finally discovered musical anhedonia had a name, had a neurological basis, the relief was profound. He wasn't broken. He wasn't emotionally stunted. His brain was simply wired differently. He started being honest about it. When friends asked why he never suggested music for road trips, he explained. When dating profiles asked about favorite bands, he wrote, "I have musical anhedonia. Happy to explain on our date." The reactions varied, but most people, once educated about the condition, were understanding. What's crucial to understand is that musical anhedonia exists on a spectrum. Some people experience complete absence of musical pleasure. They could live their entire lives never hearing music and feel no loss. Others have reduced response. They might occasionally enjoy certain songs, but generally don't seek out music or feel strong emotional reactions. There's also interesting research about related conditions. Some people experience the opposite, musical frisson or skin orgasms, where music creates such intense pleasure they get literal chills, goosebumps, even tears. Their music reward pathways are hyperactive. Musical anhedonia is the other end of that spectrum. Neither is better or worse. They're just different ways brains can be configured. The research has practical implications. For decades, music therapy has been used to treat depression, anxiety, dementia, and other conditions. But if a significant percentage of the population doesn't respond emotionally to music, music therapy won't work for them. Alternative interventions need to be developed. It also challenges assumptions about what makes us human. We often say music is universal, that it's one of the defining features of human culture. But if millions of people don't emotionally connect to music, maybe we need to rethink that narrative. Maybe diversity of neural wiring is more fundamental to humanity than any single experience. Marcus eventually found communities online of people with musical anhedonia. They shared experiences, strategies for navigating a music-saturated culture, and most importantly, validation that they weren't alone or abnormal. One member described going to a wedding and watching everyone dance with genuine joy, while feeling like an anthropologist observing an alien ritual. Another talked about the relief of dating someone else with the condition. Finally, someone who didn't judge them for not wanting music playing constantly. The condition doesn't require treatment because it's not a disorder. It's just a difference. But understanding it can reduce the shame and isolation many people feel. If you're someone who doesn't emotionally respond to music, you're not broken. Your auditory system works fine. Your emotional system works fine. The specific neural pathway connecting those two systems is just configured differently. And in a species with 8 billion members, neurological diversity is normal, expected, and valuable. The world doesn't need everyone to experience music the same way. What it needs is recognition that human brains are magnificently varied, that there's no single correct way to process the world, and that difference doesn't equal deficiency. Marcus is 31 now. He still doesn't like music. Probably never will, but he's stopped pretending. When people ask what he's listening to, he says, a history podcast. When friends invite him to concerts, he politely declines and suggests alternative hangouts. When partners want to share songs, he listens respectfully but doesn't pretend to feel something he doesn't. And he's happier than he's ever been because he's finally living as his authentic neurological self instead of performing someone else's brain wiring. Your brain is yours, however it's wired. Whatever brings you joy or doesn't, that's valid. You don't owe the world a universal response to anything, including music. 3 to 5% of people have musical anhedonia. If that's you, welcome to the club. You're not alone. You're not broken. You're just wired differently. And that's perfectly okay. And that's the end of our experience. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like. It's very important for us to know the truth. Be honest in the comments, leaving creative suggestions so we can improve the quality of our content more and more. Comment where you're from. Check out the video on the screen. I'm sure you'll like it. See you in a few seconds. We are Applied Psychology, and this is our contribution. Subscribe.